2 from clients and 4 from other attorneys. She had 3 cases ready to go to trial and 6 more she was developing. It was a staggering workload, but it wasn't unusual for her. She loved the pace and the pressure and the frenzy. That was what had kept her from having children for so long. She just couldn't imagine fitting children in, or loving them as much as she did her law work. There was never time for anything more than that, except Sam, her wonderful husband. But he worked just as hard as she did, not in law, but in investments. He was a venture capitalist with one of the hottest young firms in New York. He had come in right at the start, and the opportunities had been remarkable. He'd already made several fortunes and lost some money, too. But more than that, Sam Parker had a powerful reputation. He knew his stuff, took amazing risks, and for 20 years now, almost everything he touched turned to money. Alex had met Sam right after she graduated from law school. They'd actually met at a party given by her first law firm. It was Christmas, and he'd arrived with 3 friends, looking very tall and handsome in a dark blue suit, black hair flecked with snow, his face bright from the frigid air outside. He'd been full of life, and when he stopped and looked at her, she felt weak in the knees as she watched him. She was 25 years old, and he was 32. And he was one of the few men she'd met who wasn't married. Their paths hadn't crossed again until 6 months later. Sam's firm had consulted hers on a deal they were trying to put together in California, and she'd been called in with 2 other associates to help a senior partner. She'd been fascinated by him then. He was so quick and so smart and so sure. He had integrity and style and brains, and that rarest of all things, courage. Her first impression of him had been correct. He was afraid of nothing. But he was intrigued by her, too. He was fascinated by her intelligent, thoughtful analyses, her perception of a situation from 360 degrees. She saw all sides and expressed the risks and the advantages brilliantly. The first time he took Alex out, he borrowed one of his clients' private jets and took her to Los Angeles for the World Series. They'd stayed at the Bel Air, in separate rooms, and he'd taken her to Chasen's and L'Orangerie for dinner. "Do you do this for everyone?" she had asked, amazed at all his little attentions. She was more than a little in awe of Sam. She'd had one serious relationship with a boy her own age at Yale, and nothing but a series of meaningless dates during her brutally hard-working years in law school. Alex didn't have time for relationships. She wanted to work hard and be someone. She wanted to be the best lawyer in her law firm, and Sam's wild flash and dash didn't quite fit with that profile. She could see herself with attorneys like the ones in her firm, sober, quiet guys who spent a lifetime as partners of Wall Street law firms. In his own way, Sam Parker was a wild man, a cowboy. But he was great-looking and nice to her, fun to be with. It was hard to remind herself that he wasn't really what she wanted. Who wouldn't want Sam? He was smart, gorgeous, and he had a terrific sense of humor. She would have had to be crazy not to want him. They had driven to Malibu before they left L.A. and walked along the beach, talking about their families and their lives and their futures. Sam's experiences had been interesting and very different from Alex's. He had said almost casually but with a tense look in his jaw that his mother had died of cancer when he was 14, and he had been sent to boarding school because his father didn't know what else to do with him. And while he was away at school, his father had drunk himself to death and spent the last of his money. Sam had gone to college on the small amount of money his grandparents had left him. He'd gone to Harvard and done well. After Harvard undergraduate, he had moved on to Harvard Business School and had been totally enamored with venture capital. He'd found a job the minute he graduated, and in the 8 years since, he had made fortunes for several of his clients. "And what about you?" she had asked quietly. "There's more to life than venture capital and Wall Street." She wanted to get to know him better. She had just had the most exciting weekend of her life, and she hadn't even slept with him. She wanted to know more about Sam Parker before they disappeared back to their own lives after they left California. "Is there more to life than Wall Street?" he laughed. slipping